Welcome back. This is lesson 3.3 journal, rational numbers and the number line. I will be able to correctly identify and graph rational numbers on the number line. Vocabulary for this lesson. Positive, we've already talked about that. That means to the right of 0. Zero. Integer, integers can be positive or negative, but they're like whole numbers. They don't have decimal or fractional parts. Opposites have the same distance from 0, but are opposite in sign, like -2 and +2. Rational number, this is a new one, so please pull out page 40, the chapter 3 vocabulary, and let's talk about what a rational number is. A rational number is any number that can be written as a fraction. This means as a decimal, it will either terminate or repeat. Okay? A terminating decimal is a number where the decimal portion ends. A repeating decimal is a number where the decimal portion repeats the same pattern forever. So an example of that could be 4.35 with a line over it. That would mean this would be 4.35, 35, 35, 35 forever and ever and ever. A terminating decimal would be like 4.3. It ends. 3 is where it ends. Okay? Put that back in your math journal, and we're going to continue with this. So it says, plot the following rational numbers on the number line. Remember that negative numbers are always to the left of 0. Alright, the first number we have is 0, so we're going to find 0 on our number line. See how we have -2, -1? Here is marking our whole units. So 0 would be 1 unit between -1 and +1. So let's go ahead and put 0 right there on the number line. Okay? -1/2. Looking at our number line, negative means it has to be below 0. Notice it is 1/2 unit, so it is less than 1 whole unit below 0, but it is below 0, 1/2 of a unit. So I'm looking between 0 and -1, and I want 1/2. So this has been cut into fourths. That means that 1/2 is halfway between 0 and -1. So we're going to put a dot right there. That right there represents -1/2. 0 and 25/100ths. That is the same as 1/4. So thinking like quarters, this would be like 25 cents, 1/4 of a dollar. This is a positive number, so I need to be above 0. There are 0 whole units, so it's between 0 and 1. And this is 1/4, 1/4 of the way from 0 to 1. So it would be right here. Okay, positive 3/4. Once again, this is between 0 and 1. It's not a full unit yet, but it's higher than 0. It's positive. So we're going to look. This has been cut into 4 pieces. I need 3 of those 4 pieces above 0. So here's 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4. Positive 3/4 right there. -1 and 5/10. If this was money, this would be like owing $1.50. So 0.5 is the same as 1/2. So this is 1 whole unit below 0 and half more. So I'm going to go to -1. And then halfway between -1 and -2, because I need to be 1 whole unit and another half away from 0. So this would be negative 1 and 5/10 right there. Okay, positive 1 and 2500. It's going to be 1 whole unit above 0, and 2500ths more, or 1/4 more, so 1 whole unit above 0, and 2500ths more right there, 1 and 2500ths. Positive 2 and 3/4. That is going to be 2 whole units above 0. So it's above 2, but below 3. And 3/4 of the way more. So 1 whole unit, 2 whole units, and then 3/4. This has been cut into 4 pieces. 3 of those fourths. So 2 and 3/4 would be found right there. 1 and 1/2. That's 1 whole unit above 0 because it's positive, and then half of a unit more. So 1 whole unit above 0 and half more be found right here. So this is 1 and 1/2. This is positive 1/2, which means it's above 0 but below 1 whole unit. So half of a unit between 0 and 1 would be right here. Negative 1 and 1/4 can be found 1 unit below 0 because it's negative, and 1/4 of a unit more than that below 0. So 1 unit below 0. Okay, a common misconception is people want to go this way. No, it's 1/4 more below 0. So I'm going to go 1/4 of a unit below negative 1, so 1 and 1/4 units below 0. Negative 1 and 1/4 right there. Last one, positive 1/4. That's 1/4 above 0, which is the same as 2500. So let's put 1/4 right there. These are equal in value. One's just written as a decimal, one's written as a fraction, but they have the same value. So that's how to put negative and positive rational numbers on the number line. Just remember, when you're doing negatives, it's how many units below 0. So you're going this way away from 0 as you're counting. All right, without a number line, which two integers would each rational number be found between? So negative 2 and 6600ths. So this is negative 2, so it's got to be between negative 2 and it's a little bit, so it's almost to negative 3. So this is going to be between negative 2 and negative 3 on the number line. Now which one is it closer to, negative 2 or negative 3? Well, if I were to round this, 66, rounding to the nearest whole, find your place, look next door, 5 or higher, erase a score. This is closer to 3 away from 0 than it is to 2 away from 0. So it's closest to negative 3. 12 and 2/5. We know it's over 12, so 12 is going to be between 12 and what other number? 12 and a little more, so the next number it would have to be between would be 12 and 13. Now is this closer to 12 or to 13? This is where we look at the fractional amount. I always think about where halfway would be. I can't cut 5 in half really easy, so if I made this 10, then this would be 4/10. Well, half of 10 is 5. 4 is below 5. So that means it's going to be closer to 12 than it is to 13. Negative 31 and 1/8. I know it's 31 units below 0 and a little bit more, so it's going to be between negative 31, and then since it's a little more than negative 31, the next number would be negative 32. But which one would it be closer to? 1/8 is a relatively small fraction, so it's going to be closer to 31 than it will be to 32. So closer to negative 31. All right, we have negative 0 and 456 thousandths. So what whole numbers would this be between? I can see that it's negative, 0, so it's past 0 going negative, so it's between 0 and the next one negative from 0 would be negative 1. So between 0 and negative 1, not quite a whole unit away, but definitely less than 0. Now which one would it be closest to? Well, find your place, look next door, 5 or higher, raise a score. In this case, 4 is less than 5, so it's going to be a little bit closer to 0 than it would be to negative 1. Alright, now here it says, write each number represented on the number line and in its fraction and decimal form. So we've already talked about turning decimals into fractions and fractions into decimals in the last chapter. This is going to have the same thing. We're just going to have some negatives on there. So looking at this carefully, let's look at A. We're going to write the fraction and the decimal. So looking at A, it's below 0. So to the left of 0, so I know it's negative. So how can I tell what decimal this would be? Well, between 0 and negative 1, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pieces. So for decimal, the tenths place, this is 1, 2, 3 units below, not 3 units, but 3 tenths below 0. So to say that, I'm going to write 0 and 3 tenths. Now, as a fraction, that would mean I'm still negative, and it's out of 10 pieces, negative 3 tenths. So, here is the decimal version, here is the fraction version. Both mean the same value, that point right there on the number line. Alright, let's look at B. Each one of these has been split into tenths, so that will be easy for us to do decimal. Let's see, from 0, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4 units below 0, and some more. So I'm going to start out with negative 4. Now I just need to decide how many tenths I am below negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be 4 tenths more below 0. So negative 4 and 4 tenths, or negative 4 and 4 tenths would be 4 over 10, but we like to reduce our fractions if possible. Back here on 3 tenths, 3 and 10 didn't share anything in common, so negative 3 tenths is in its simplest form. This, on the other hand, these share a common factor of 2. So we're going to reduce this by 2 by dividing both the top and bottom by 2. So that would be the same as negative 4, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So it's the same as 4, negative 4, and 2/5. Alright, let's look at C. Once again, it is negative. It is below 0. 1 whole unit. 2 whole units is too far. See how C is not quite that far? So it's going to be negative 1, and how many tenths? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it is negative 1 and 8 tenths below 0. To write that as a fraction, negative 1 and 8 pieces out of 10. But this can reduce, so I'm going to divide this by 2, and I'm going to divide this by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So this is the same as negative 1 and 4/5. Okay, let's look at D. D is a positive number because it's above 0. And how much above 0? 1 whole unit, 2 whole units, and 1, 2, 3, 4 of those little tenths. So this is positive 2 and 4 tenths. There's our decimal form. Our fraction form would be 2 and 4 tenths, but we like to reduce our fractions. 2 goes into both of these, so I'm going to reduce them both by 2. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 goes into 10 5 times, so 2/5. So this is the same as 2 and 2/5. Okay, looking for E. E is a positive number as well. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 whole units above 0. So positive 4. And how many little pieces? So positive 4 And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7/10. So as a fraction, that would be 4 and 7 out of 10 pieces. 7 and 10 do not share any common factors, so that is as simplified as I can make that one. Okay, last one, F. This is below 0, so it's going to be a negative number. From 0, I'm going to go down 1 whole unit, 2 whole units. So -2, and how much further? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So -2 and 6/10. Or, in its fraction form, -2 and 6/10, which I can reduce because 6 and 10 share a common factor of 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So I've got -2 and 3/5. Okay, here's a question for you to answer on your own. I do expect this to be filled in your own words. What do you do to remember where a number can be found on the number line? What helps you? I want you to write down what you do to help you where it can go on a number line. How do you remember where the negative goes? How do you remember where positive goes? How do you remember where to find 2.4 on the number line? Give me your ways to remember, and then I want you to rate yourself on this concept, 0 to 4, 4 meaning you could teach somebody else, 0 meaning you don't get it at all. Rate yourself, take a picture, and put it on your passport in Google Classroom.